Hello and welcome back to the fifth episode of Reassembly, the Helios faction. I'm your host, Spinner Bounceholder, and I'll be showing off this new ship I made for you all. Well, this is quite a curious one because our previous designs were pretty much standard ones for the normal building blocks you would find for the other factions, trying to resort to the normal styles. With this one, I decided to actually try and get inspired by the designs that were native to the Helios faction, and this is somewhat what came out of it. And something to be noticed is that it has a lot of structural flaws, which actually turn out to be very minute in consequence. Um, what I mean by that is basically that if you look, for example, at the back of the ship, we have a womb here which only has about 322 health. It can be hit directly, and if you destroy that block, basically you are only a few shots away from destroying the command module. And you might think that is horrendous, and personally I find it very, very horrendous as well, were it not that in practice this really doesn't work out. Because what it really does mean is that a enemy ship has to position itself almost exactly behind us. And that is simply not going to happen very often. Even if they position themselves that way, a plasma bullet or a rocket is very likely to actually go a bit off mark. So the probability that we actually die from that weakness is very, very insignificant, really. With other ships, we would be able to cover that regardless, but with this one, we couldn't. And turns out it wasn't really necessary either. And like that, there are quite a few of those kind of weaknesses, like this being just a connected ring, which basically only is connected to one point, which would mean if you hit it right at that connection point, everything connected to it basically breaks off. But that connection point simply really never gets hit, really. So yeah, this is definitely a ship that is more inspired by the style of the Helios faction, and it turns out to be quite effective despite having these minute weaknesses. So what does this ship really feature? Well, it features the biggest, probably arguably the strongest weapon the Helios faction has to offer, which is called the Eye of Helios. And we have 4 of those. Oh yes, this thing will definitely cause some massive damage the moment it releases those bullets, or rather those lasers. Apart from that, we also have 16 sentinels, 8 on each side, or 4 per quadrant. And those will protect us from anything that will be incoming. We also have ray cannons, which are rapid fire lasers in this situation, which are very suited for medium and short range interception of enemies. So if you have a very nimble ship that would try and approach us, we can very easily shoot it down with those. The Helios the Eye of Helios are all front mounted. They all go in the same direction, only in the direction of the ship itself. So those are very hard to properly aim. Uh, but that is really quite alright because the fact of the matter is, it is actually has 4,000 range, which basically means that these weapons are used for very, very long range or taking down very, very slow enemies. Which is actually perfectly fine because generally the things that are slow and things you want to hit from a distance are the things that also are the strongest and require the most of damage to be done in one shot. And these do 2,500 damage per discharge, which is quite significant. We also have the javelins, which basically are drone launchers, little rocket or little laser drones that will harass our enemies and destroy the smaller opponents. And we have a boom which obviously allows us to produce more ships like ourselves, including ourselves in fact, because we are able to produce ships up to over 7,000 P, and we ourselves are only 5,000, or not even 5,000 actually. So that's quite nice. I noticed there were some changes, but I shall discard those because I know this ship is fine the way it is. Alright, so we left off last time with some exploring. We mostly attacked the spiky plants a bit with our Starshine. So I'm sure you all are very eager to see what this one can do. We're not even using the Eye of Helios right now, and these burst lasers are already very powerful. We've already seen those in action with our previous design, the Queen Hornet, which was very powerful in its own right. So it is indeed very nice to see that one being able to fire so quickly and so efficiently. We can also launch a bunch of drones to help us out, obviously. And I hope that we will encounter some enemies, but it turns out that this area is all without a controlling faction, so that would imply that it is very much quiet and died down in these parts. Not per se unpleasant, but it is perhaps a little bit plain, a bit boring. So I do hope that there are actually some enemies around here, despite being otherwise very much uninhabited. But it seems that is not the case. We can still activate the stations, obviously, because give us more control over these areas, which is very nice, considering that they are under no one's control by default. Oh, there we go. That's a crystalline. I currently have the race, the Eye of Helios is configured to be firing in the same fashion as the burst lasers are. Oh dear. Which pretty much means that they fire once individually, because that improves the rate of fire by which they actually fire. Oh dear. But if I release whilst firing, they will still all fire at one as a whole, which is also very nice. Oh dear, I think we are not going to survive this. These are two very powerful ships, so that's very unfortunate that those came at the same time as us. Oh dear. But we had a station... Oh! It actually turned into one of us. That is pleasantly surprising. We will experience quite a bit of slowdown because the Eye of Helios are the weapons that cause that slowdown that I mentioned a few times before, because the lasers linger very long, and apparently that causes a lot of slowdown. But I do want to get rid of this ship. That's one, and now you. And the big advantage that the Eye of Helios really has is obviously, as I've said before, it's massive range. So we can pretty much just stay at a distance and bombard them. Because if you look at the complete distance from it, it's quite insane. I mean, here, this is the complete range of it. It's maximally zoomed out, and we can basically hit almost the width of our screen, which is very nice. Not only that, but something to notice as well is because of the way, because of the ship and the way we designed it, we have a lot of leaves in our ship design. And if you can see this, our resources are skyrocketing. It's going so very quickly. And that means that we will be able to make a massive fleet in just a few moments, really. I believe this is a Queen Hornet. Might be wrong, but I believe this is a Queen Hornet. Anyway, we don't have enough yet to copy our own ship, but I am very eager to explore and see if we can actually fight a few crystallines, because against those it will be especially useful to use the eyes of Helios, because of their massive range. There you can see. Our ship is not super nimble, but it is able to move omnidirectional. Basically, that means in all directions. Because something that is very typical to the Helios faction, which I have also included in this design, is that thrusters are basically just spread out over the entire ship. Meaning that even if we lose, for example, almost our entire backside, we will still probably remain mobile because we have thrusters that are aimed forward all across the whole ship. As you can see when I zoom in a little, very many thrusters. And of course, a big ship will never truly become very nimble, especially not with the weight and everything. But we can always make sure that we can still stay mobile, even if mobility is not our focus. Now let's see what these drones can do. Oh, sentinels are actually already picking them off a bit. They fire at will, but I'll set them to engage my target for now. Then you can see them swarming our little opponent here. These lasers don't. The lasers those little guys use obviously don't do a lot of damage, and that is not always ideal. Especially not when they get shot down a lot. I did not expect them to have point defenses, otherwise. Because if an enemy has point defenses, that basically means that they are very efficient at taking care of drones and such. Just like our sentinels are, our sentinel lasers. That's why we have 8 or 16 of them, because those will give both a great offense and a great defense. It is also one of the reasons why I have sometimes been too reliant on point defense weapons. Because they simply are the perfect filler item. They are suited for every occasion basically. But at the same time they are just a master, a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And when truly making a ship that is truly supposed to be effective against everything, it's simply not going to cut it. Because one of the things that is very typical to point defenses is that they have short range. And the Helios faction is quite an exception there, but with the Sentinels, because those actually have 1500 range, which is almost half of our Eyes of Helios. Very significant indeed. There you saw them. Very powerful, very nice to use indeed. But we can't grow fully reliant on them, even with their amazing power, because if we use them too much, we will simply lose a great deal of flexibility. We will eventually either have no offense because they are constantly focusing on protecting us from lasers or from rockets, or they will actually start to attack a specific target and start to destroy that target, which is fine, but in the meantime we would get shut up by a countless army of rockets that suddenly are at the doorstep. And neither is really an option, so you really want to try and use them as point defenses. Let them work on their own, and make sure that you are able to take care of targets that are really priority yourself. Basically dividing the attention of the ship that way. Because the point defenses are meant to allow you to, so to say, multitask, to allow you to defend whilst you are attacking, and to allow you to attack while you are defending. But if you try to use it as both at the same time, that even if the point defenses can operate individually, it still isn't going to work out perfectly. It still is going to have a few snags up there. There you go. But as you can see, it is quite a powerful ship. It has very nice. Is very nice to use because of those Eyes of Helios, with that gigantic range of them. Basically allowing us to cause massive damage at great range. And that is what this ship is designed for. It is one of the reasons why I called it the God Ray. And that might sound a bit silly to call it something a god when it is already, or when it is not even at maximum capacity of maximum power. But anyone that knows what God Rays are will know why I called it this. It is completely reliant on lasers. The only thing that is not reliant on lasers are the drones, and the drones are laser drones. So, yeah, this ship is completely laser powered. There is an agent nearby, so I hope we can take it out a bit. Oh dear, it's actually incoming already. There we have him. Will cause a bit of a slowdown, I reckon. Oh dear, he's actually heavily damaged. Come on. Oh dear. Almost. There we go. We got lucky there with our beams. Something to notice about the lasers though, which really was a bit frustrating to me after I realized that. In regards to the Helios. One moment. Gotta take this guy out. Get out of here. I need a little bit of space for this. Oh well. If I release now, you will see all those 4 beams firing. And you would expect they linger for quite a while. So you would expect there to be damage over time, but if we fire and we strafe over things, you will see that there is some sort of a hit indication, but it won't do any damage. So it really is very, very pointless. But if we actually fire, then you will see massive damage occurring. So it's very much something to keep in mind. It is completely just for show and completely without function. So even though you will see those lasers still hitting your target, maybe you still got to time your shots. You still got to properly manage when you release, when you charge up. And that's one of the reasons why I put it on burst mode. Because that will allow me to at least have a bit of an aiming indication. So this will help me aim because there will always be at least one line towards my end-all target, towards the extent of my range. And in case it just happens to hit something, it will incur the damage of at least one of those Helios cannons, one of the eyes of Helios, which already is quite significant. So it is really very much convenient because even if we have it on bursting mode, we can still use it to a certain manual extent. At this moment I somewhat regret making this ship we see here. That triangle ship. That is the melee ship, which is actually... Oh dear! Which is very sturdy. It is very powerful. It has, I believe it's an 8,000 piece ship. Oh no, it's a 4,000 piece ship. But yeah, it is very sturdy. It has a lot of thrusters and it has a few very powerful lasers. Despite actually missing the lasers I designed for them, because those... I actually modded those lasers they used myself, so they will miss those components. But that doesn't matter, they are, as you can see, quite strong in their own right, even without those modified lasers. So it is probably not a good idea to engage them all by ourselves. Because that is probably the thing that we would be worst suited for enemies that are very sturdy and mobile enough. Because that will basically mean that those ships are able to tank our shots and start to actually exploit our weaknesses, where otherwise most ships would be destroyed long before then, or are simply not nimble enough to actually get into a position where they can exploit our weaknesses. Pardon. That's something why also a reason why I'm very much interested in fighting the crystalline, because those are very slow. Oh dear, we got too close. Ooh, this bombardment. Oh, this bombardment. There you can see we almost lost our entire back, but we still are mobile, so that is definitely a massive convenience. They shut out our womb, as I predicted. Oh dear, here he comes again. But we still have our Eyes of Helios, so we can still try and destroy him regardless. And we probably are more mobile than this guy is, so... And a much longer range. There we go! Haha! Thought you had me, didn't ya? Now we can just clean up those little guys. There we go. So yeah, it is quite a nice ship. Oh yes, I am very much satisfied with it. Even though it has those weaknesses, even though it is very different in design than I'm used to, it very much very functional still, very much easy to use still, and a great variety of weapons, which is actually I thought it might be a bit overwhelming because it's generally a bit more convenient to be reliant on weapons that are more flexible, as I've said, so using point defenses, for example. But in actuality, it works out quite alright. It's quite easy to operate all of them at the same time. Maybe that's just because I'm used to operating multiple weapons with my mouse. Because I'm currently, in case you hadn't noticed yet, I'm currently operating 4. I'm using the Eye of Helios, I'm using the burst lasers, I've even got those little lances at the front. And we've got our drone launchers as well as our point defense. So that's quite a variety of weapons actually. That is quite a variety of weapons. But it all works out. It actually produces quite a nice result. Almost got enough to make another copy of ourselves. Ah! I've been looking for this guy. Oh wait, no. No, this is a station. Oh, we'll blow it to shit anyway. Because that's what we do with our enemies. But first the station. There we go. And you can see that this station has similar structural flaws that we incorporated into our design, and we can actually exploit that ourselves. Oh dear. If they don't come and blindside us, that would be an inconvenience, of course. There we go. It's never good to have something in your back trying to kill you. Almost, oh, a little bit stuck there. Almost striking at its core already. Just a little bit more. I believe it's, there we go. Now some enemies are coming in, so I'll make a bit more distance between them. Get a bit further away. And we can snipe them in turn as well. Could have called the ship the sniper as well, because with its way of fighting. Some other ships are really very much designed to be sniping, to use distance to their advantage. But rarely do you see it in the way that we use it now, because of the Helios faction, I believe, being the only faction that features weapons that have a range of 3000 or greater. And we have 4000 range on these eyes now, so that's very significant. There we go. And now we can make a copy of ourselves as well. So let's see that. Oh dear, it got stuck in this. Oh dear, oh dear. That's not good, that's not good. I hope it will slip out. Oh shit. That's not good. I did not foresee that happening. The last time I tried it, it slipped out very neatly out of that little circle I made for it, but this time it gets launched into our ship. Now we're like a conjoined twin. Maybe that might work to our advantage, but I don't know yet. We still appear to be mobile enough at least. Oh dear. How ironic. You become a conjoined twin and you find one as well. Well, that's one. Now we need to exit the circle. I've already seen this once before. But you first need to exit the circle and then come back in to activate the second station. There we go. Oh, that other ship is actually working against us now. I think I will free ourselves in a moment. Because it's simply an inconvenience otherwise. Come on. It is not working. Why, I do not know. But let's actually get rid of this. And load in the Green Hornet, for example. There we go. And then we can again load up the guard ray. And we'll get most of our parts back and perhaps have to regenerate only a few of them. There we go. Now the second one is activated as well. And we are free as well. So just a matter of waiting for a moment. We actually are collecting some of the components that you see lying around. It's a very nice feature that oh dear, in reassembly. We might not survive this! Oh dear, oh dear. He came in close much quicker than he was supposed to. Oh dear. That bombardment, yep, I expected that to happen. Oh dear. And there he goes, of course, just after we die, they get him. Very typical. And we respawn here. Well, that at least is a convenience. I actually want to fight this guy. I need to get my resources back. There we go. Now get in range. Get out of his range. We don't want to repeat what happened just now. There we go. Now slowly back off. Now we can start to fire at his skull and hopefully destroy him in the process. Get some drones as well. And we're slowly digging into his hull. Oh damn, he is rotating. That is not what I hoped would happen. But most of his cannons that really threaten us are luckily already destroyed, so I think we should be good. We are a bit careful. Can we hit him with this? Yes, we can actually. Alright. Almost, just a bit more. Oh dear. Don't hit us with those plasma cannons, we do not like that. There we go. He should be disarmed now. Oh no. No, he still has those cannons. But I don't think he will be able to... There we go! There we go. That's about time. Jeez, that took quite a while. And speaking of things taking quite a while, this episode is almost done. I'll activate the station. Then we'll see what we can do. There we go. Well then, this has been it for the 5th episode of Reassembly the Helios faction. I've been Spirit Balance Holder, and I hope you all have a great day today.